welcome to our Ascend Open House. If you haven't met her before, Cindi Lynch is Stenograph's training program manager. She's been with Stenograph for a little more than 32 years, and she's trained thousands of court reporters, captioners, CART providers, scopists, instructors, and students. Cindi has provided training at national and state association conventions, STAR conferences, and regional workshops. She created the integrated video training, the self-study guides, and all of the exceptional extras in Catalyst. As she's now the primary host and in charge of content development at Ascend, I'm going to turn this over to her and have her tell you and show you everything you want to know about why you're going to want to become a member of Ascend Training by Stenograph.
Thank you, Jenny, very much. And thank you all very, very much for coming here today. I am thrilled to have this opportunity to tell you all about what Ascend is, how it's different from support or any other kind of training option you've ever experienced or probably even considered. I wanted to tell you that I've seen a lot over the last 32 years. Actually, it's been even longer than that because I'm a second generation trainer. My mom was one of the original CAT trainers way back in the days of Baron Data. So I've been in and around this industry my whole life. I've seen the problems that reporters encounter with being comfortable with the aspects of the profession that go beyond the actual writing and doing the job. And we've tried a lot of different things over time to address the needs, but until now, until Ascend, I think that there's always been a bit of a gap, something of a hole that support cannot possibly fill, and that traditional training doesn't really, it partially handles, but really can't meet all the needs. And I didn't realize just how much we would be able to do with this site when I first started building it. But now I'm beginning to realize just how much you and I can accomplish together. So what I'm going to do is I'm first going to explain what Ascend is, and then I'm going to take you for a tour. So if you have any questions, again, as Jenny said, just click the Q&A button and type your question there, and I will take you through it. Okay. So let me go ahead and share my screen, and I'm going to take you through a little presentation here. Let me see if I can get the screen running. There we go. As I said, support and training are two very, very different things. Technical support is when you have a problem immediately, right now, right here. I am trying to connect my writer to my computer and it won't, and I have an issue and I've got to get that solved right now because I have a job that's about to start. Or I am trying to get this particular job edited and I see an error message, and this error message is making it so that I can't find my job or I can't open my job. That's definitely something that technical support needs to be there for you. When you need troubleshooting or problem solving, or if you just got your software and you're getting ready and you're not quite ready for training yet, you need to get everything on your computer, great use for technical support. Or it's time for your writer to get serviced and you need to arrange for service. Again, another terrific thing for technical support to do. What technical support is not there for is for how do I do this? The way that I like to explain this is, and just bear with me for 1 second here before I move on to the next slide. And that is, I am, in addition to doing everything I do for Stenograph, I'm also a photographer. And so I want you to think for a moment, if you had a camera that you purchased and there was something wrong with that camera, you know, you press the button and it's not taking a picture. That's something for technical support. However, if you want to know, gee, how do I point it towards the sun and get that beautiful starburst image where there's, you know, lots of lines shooting out of the sun? How do I make that happen? That's training. And the same is true really when we're talking about software, whether it's Catalyst, whether it's CaseViewNet, whether it's VP, whether it's BCS, you know, any of the Stenograph products. There are certain things when it's a how do I, or what is, or when do I use this particular feature, or I'm in this situation and I need to know how do I use this feature and what are the step-by-step instructions to do that. That's when you need training. For example, you may know perfectly well how to create a transcript, but you may not know how do I do that and share my edit file or my live real-time file with a couple of different scopists so that they can be editing with me at the exact same time. Well, that's a function called Real Team, but that's not something you call tech support over. That's something that you get training on. You use training to improve your efficiency and your productivity, to learn more about the software. And it's also a terrific way for you to learn how to customize the software to you, as opposed to how somebody else might use it. So traditionally, we've used 3 different kinds of training for different kinds of needs, and they have filled most of the needs, or we've tried to fill most of the needs over time. Now, the most common types of training that people have used for learning CAT software or CaseViewNet or any of the other products that I mentioned is one-on-one or small group training. And those, that would be through our certified independent training agents, who, by the way, are all superb and excellent. And Ascend does not take anything away from that. They are still the best place to go when you're first learning how to use software. If you're starting a brand new product and you're about to take a job with it and you're not sure how to get started, having that personal attention can be just amazing. The thing that's great about having a personal trainer, as opposed to necessarily doing it, let's say DIY, doing it entirely through the integrated video training or the self-study guides or whatever, having that personal attention from someone who can listen to your questions and answer you right there and then can be absolutely wonderful. But again, it's only good really for specific situations, because it's not cheap. You do have to pay for one-on-one training or even a small group of training, and it's not an inexpensive prospect. It's not easy for someone to take the time and to set everything up and to prepare for that kind of a training prospect. They have to set up your pages and make sure that they're working properly, as well as teach you how to use them. They have to find out how are you going to be doing your indexing? Do you know how to identify speakers? And they have to know so much about you, and they have to customize what they do to you. And that's great, but again, it ain't cheap. So plus you have to take time out of your day, or you have to set specific hours or schedule a day off or whatever to take for that particular training. So again, that kind of adds to the expense of the process for you as an individual. Another way that people get software training is through a conference or seminar, going to a STAR meeting. They can learn a lot about their software at STAR. You can go to an NCRA convention or a state convention if they're having any CAT training there. Those can, again, be fantastic ways to learn about something, but it does have some downsides to it. Just the same way that each of these other methods has, a downside. They have their pros and their cons. Again, the pros of a big conference or seminar is that you get to network. And the other thing, which is really cool about it, is that because you're surrounded by other people asking questions, you hear their questions. And so it's, it's like, oh, I didn't even think I would never have thought to ask that. That's really helpful to me. But the agenda for that seminar might have nothing to do with you, or it might only have a tiny fraction to do with what it is that you're doing. The self-help kinds of methods, which I mentioned before, they may be extremely convenient. They're obviously very cost effective because they're free. So they're already built in, and you just grab them whenever you want them. So you don't have to worry about, taking out a specific amount of time. But then they have the downside of there being no interaction. There's no one there to help you, walk you through all of that. You just simply have what's been given to you. So what other options, or what are the other concerns? Again, scheduling, it involves taking time off. Because most of those methods, not the self-paced, but the other two that I mentioned where you have instructors, most of those are credit-based. The whole way that they get you to show up at training or to take individual training is so that you can get your CEUs. And for people who care about CEUs, again, fantastic solution, because it's not only, you not only get your credit, but it's also extremely practical, because the stuff that you're getting credit for is the thing that you, really eagerly want to be able to do. So that's great. But because it is credit-based, it's also time-based, because the way CEU points work is that you can only get 0.1 CEUs for a full hour spent. You can't get credit for any breaks that you take. You can't get credit for lunch. Everything has to be, at a particular, you have to fill that time. So that means that if you want to make it cost effective to get CEUs, you have to stay there for a certain amount of time. And how hard is it to take 2, 3, 4, 6 hours at a time and actually do something with that information. Then if you get 6 hours of information in the course of one day, that's less than a year's worth of information that you're, actually, less than a year's worth of credit. But how much of it will you remember? I mean, think about the things that you've told yourself when you've gone to sessions. You might say things like, oh, I got that one thing and that made the whole thing worthwhile. I don't know if it's really worthwhile if you're only getting one thing. And I'll talk about that in just a minute when we get into why I think Ascend can be a better thing for certain types of training. Okay, cost and convenience are obviously factors. If you have to travel to, something when we're allowed to travel again, or, I guess some people are already starting now, and that's great if we can get back in person. But even if it's remote travel, it's still a cost factor. If you're in a group, your access to the instructor is very limited. You only get to talk to them during breaks, or maybe when they have a Q&A period, and then that's it. Once they're gone, you don't have them anymore. The level of instruction can be a problem. What if it's too easy? And you're like, oh God, I'm so bored. I can't believe I paid for this. This is just way too, oh my God, there's another person asking what a format symbol is. But if you're the person who doesn't know what a format symbol is, and the instructor starts talking about, oh, well, with Real Team, you just use this particular code and do blah, 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 blah. It just goes right off your head, right over your head. And you wonder, well, why am I taking this class? Because the level is completely wrong for me. The pace of instruction can be a concern. As you see, I can talk really fast, and I swear before all that is holy that if I ever appear before any of you in an actual proceeding, I will slow down. I'm speaking now, and so I'm very excited, so I'm talking fast. But that is an issue with various instructors, is what if you can't understand them? And they can't necessarily stop because they have an agenda and they have to get to all of the items on their agenda. So it may go too fast for you, or it may go too slow and be absolutely, really boring. And then the other thing about large group training sessions, or even a one-on-one session, is that your opportunity to practice something, to try something, tends to be limited, because again, you do have an agenda, and therefore you do have to move on eventually. Otherwise, you don't cover everything you need to cover, and then you either have to take more training, or you wind up just not getting your question answered. So there are serious concerns with standard training methods. So how does Ascend fix all this? Well, first of all, understand what Ascend is. It's a site. It's a place you go. It's on your phone. It's on your iPad or your tablet, whatever. It doesn't have to be an Apple thing. It can be an Android thing. It's on your computer. It's there where you are when you want it. You go when you feel like going, and attendance is never mandatory. For any of the live events that I do, and I do 2 different kinds of live events. I do at least 1 webinar a month, and I do 4 live Q&A sessions per month, where it's just ask me anything and I will answer the question and tell you how to do it, just like you have Q&A at a particular conference. But the attendance is never mandatory. You go when you feel like it, meaning that after the live session takes place, we record it. And then it's the edited version is then available for you to watch whenever you want to. And to make it even better, to make it more convenient for you, all of those videos are annotated by time code. So you get a time reference content guide so that you can just kind of scan through that and say, okay, did she talk about this? Oh, that's something interesting. I might want to see how that question got answered. You can go straight to that moment. You don't have to watch an hour's worth of video if you only want to see the 5 minutes that's addressing the specific thing that you wanted to know about. You determine the agenda by selecting or requesting areas of interest. All you have to do is ask, and then Ascend covers it, or just search for it, and you'll find if Ascend has already covered it. It's very low cost in comparison, and I'm going to go through all the pricing with you a little bit later. What it actually costs will depend on whether you're a professional, a scopist, or a student, because we do different pricing levels just based on what your role is and how much benefit you get out of this. And we also do discounts for STAR members. So if you're a STAR member, it becomes even less expensive. But in comparison to anything else you might do, you're going to find this to be a very low cost alternative. Another thing which is wonderful about Ascend is your access to the instructor. Because I'm there every day, I see your questions every day. So it never takes more than a day, or maybe, if you send me a question late on a Friday, I might not get to you till Monday morning. But there's always a question being answered, and you don't have to worry about someone forgetting you or dropping your question or just ignoring it in favor of some other question. You always have access to your instructor. And once you're a member until you quit. So you always have access to an instructor who's there to answer specific training questions all the time. You don't have to worry about, let's say, having taken one-on-one training with a terrific training agent, enjoying it immensely, but then not being able to email them or call them because, hey, they're working reporters too. They don't have time to answer your questions unless you're paying them. Stenograph is paying me. If you're a member to Ascend, you're partially, in a little bit of a way, paying me as well, but I'm there for you, and I'm going to be there for you. It's convenient, no pressure environment. In other words, no one's judging you. It's there when you want it to be. You participate as much as you want, or you don't participate as much as you want. You don't have to be super active and super present to get benefit out of it. You can just look around in the background, read in the background, watch in the background. You don't have to be super active, and you don't have to be self-conscious about who is seeing what you say. Everybody who's there is a professional. Even if they're a student, they behave professionally. There are different levels, different capabilities, and different backgrounds for everyone who's in there. And in my live Q&A sessions, when someone asks me a question, I find out a little bit about where they're coming from, and I speak to that level. So if that doesn't help you, hey, you wait until it's your turn to ask a question, and I'll speak to you at your level. So we can, adjust and accommodate, which I think can be extremely helpful. And the other thing which is really cool about any kind of a self-paced training where you're watching video after the fact is that you can stop it whenever you want and go practice. So you can try something and use it immediately and then go back and watch more video if that's helpful to you, or you can just put it aside until you're ready to do more. Ask a question, get an answer, then come back, then play with it again. Okay. So there's a variety of learning methods in Ascend, which I'm going to show you in just a moment. So webinars, live Q&As, there are articles which have tips in them. There are posts, and we do polls on a weekly basis to see how does everybody interact with different things. And you'll get to know more about your colleagues that way, which can be really helpful. There's plenty of repetition, which allows you to retain what you have learned. And the repetition comes via different presentation styles for similar material. You can ask questions anytime. You can find answers to previously asked questions. The interaction is always polite and professional. And I like to emphasize this because probably there's a good number of you who are out there on social media, either on Facebook or Instagram or Twitter or whatever. And I'm sure you've seen a lot of ugliness over the years where people get very nasty. There's a lot of trolling. There's a lot of judgment. None of that in Ascend. There never will be. That's part of the conditions of joining, is that you agree you're going to behave positively and professionally and be supportive. Otherwise, I'm going to kick you out. I'll give you a refund, but I'm not going to let you stay in there and ruin it for everybody else. This will be an excellent place to be. But again, you learn on your own schedule, your own convenience, at your own pace when you want to. So before I get into this whole how to join and pricing and stuff like that, let's actually go on the tour now. Let's actually see what's there. So this is the front page of Ascend. So when you first log in, and again, we'll get into that in just a minute. And by the way, once you're logged in, that's it. You're logged in forever. You never have to log out unless you're sharing your computer with some other reporter for some reason. I don't know why you would be doing that, but if you are, hey, you could log out and log in. But anyway, once you log in, basically, there's a couple of different areas you should know about. In the top right-hand corner here, you'll see your own picture if you've added it, or just a generic, stick figure kind of thing. And this is where you access all of the, stuff like settings and anything where, oh, that was an interesting thing and I saved it. So I saved a post, or I saved a draft of something that I'm going to, question I'm going to write up later or something like that. These are your notifications. So if someone has typed something new or added something new, you'll find out about it by clicking that little bell. So for example, Lance shared a question earlier today, and this is the question that he had asked me, and so, or that he had asked in general, and I just happened to see it, and I was the one who responded to it. But that's how I found out he had a question. And if you want to chat privately, you can. All you have to do is just click this little chat bubble, And then you can go ahead and you can chat with anybody else who is a member. You can have private chat, you can have group chats, there's all sorts of different ways that we can chat. And you can always speak to me privately if you would prefer to ask me something that you don't want to post in public. That's always fine. How do you find out if somebody has already asked a question? You can just type in the search field up here. So for example, how do I find out, you know, I'm wondering, I have a problem with my numbers. Some of my numbers convert to digits when I write them out, and they should have been words. Why, you know, I don't know why that's happening. So how do I do that? So I want to know about numbers converting. Oh, let's see, what did we just come up with? Okay, not to be a pest, but I've got a question here, or I need help with my time is not converting, or it's got a bunch of different questions that have been asked. Or you might say, you know, what I really want to do is I want to find a number conversion webinar. So let me type webinar number, and let's see what I come up with. There we go. Here's two webinars. One is all about automatic number conversion, and one is all about number conversion definitions. So there are two webinars that have already been taught and are already available. And if I click one of them, because let's say I wanted to learn all about number conversion definitions, as I scroll down, the first thing that you always see is that there is a handout that goes with a webinar. And actually, it's not the first thing, that's the second thing you see below. You'll see this little play button, and that means this is how you start the video. You just click it and it would start the video. I mentioned before that these all are, they have time referenced content guides. Well, if you keep on scrolling down, here's what happened at each of these items, like key concepts of number conversion to be aware of before you use the feature. Here are rules and recommendations for defining your numbers. How should they be defined? And that starts at 557. So if I want to know about, you know, how do I get rid of entries in my dictionary that end in the digit 0, I wouldn't listen to the whole beginning. I would just fast forward to 14 minutes and 43 seconds in, and I'd listen to what it had to say right there. And I could find that particular piece of information. So you can go by just searching for something by using keywords. Or another way to find information is to click here on the left-hand side where it says topics. When I open up topics, this is just basically like a folder system for organizing the different types of information. For example, if you want to know about audio, here's everything that we have posted about audio, whether it's a webinar, whether it's you know, a question that someone's asked, if it's an article I've written, like, let me just go ahead and go in there. And let's say I want to know, well, what articles have you written in here, Cindy? What tips do I get with audio? Well, here, where it says showing everything, or if you can't quite see that, I know it's a little bit tiny on this screen. So let me just say that this says showing everything, which means posts and polls and webinars and anything that might be on here. Rather than show everything, what I'm going to do is say, hey, just show me the articles. And when I click articles, it will just limit the content underneath to just the things that I've gone ahead and written up as tips. So for example, how to synchronize externally recorded audio. Here's the step-by-step. How do I convert an MP3 to a WAV if I needed to do that? How do I get that playback speed dialog box out of my way? Or here's a nifty one that a lot of people were really happy about, which was why included files or copy pasted files should not have underlying steno when you include or copy or paste them, and why that causes a problem. You know, things like that can be incredibly helpful. And again, the way that I find those things is just by going to the topic. So anything that interests you, want to know about what's new in Catalyst, which is this Catalyst plus Apex. What is this all about? We already have 3 different webinars on Apex, which teach you all about what's new in 21.5, all the way through, you know, what the agencies are seeing on their end, and how am I going to handle that first Apex job, you know, start to finish, how that works. I've done a couple of seminars on automatic indexing, actually 3 of them, one which just takes you through tables, and one which is at a basic level, and one at a more advanced level. I have some webinars on captioning and cart and on using Catalyst BCS. CaseViewNet, VP. We have a webinar coming up later this month for all of our voice reporters, which are going to help them use Dragon a little bit better. I have issues with my dialog panes and toolbars. They're floating when they should be docked, or they're too tiny and I can't see the text in them. Anything that you might have an issue with, you can just go to the very specific topic. And hey, what happens if there is no topic for the thing that you want? Well, that's why I have one topic, which is just called, hey, we need a new topic for, and you just put it under miscellaneous and I'll figure out where it goes, or I'll create a new topic for you. But everything you can think of, including, hey, I need some Windows tips. You know, what's happening with Windows 11? I just need to know more about that. Or, gee, I'm having a problem with spell check, or whatever it might be. I will make sure that it is organized in such a way that you can easily find it. So how do you know when these events are, these webinars? Well, what happens is we have something called events. When you click events, it tells you what's coming up. For example, on Tuesday, February 15th at 3 p.m. Pacific time, and that's showing 3 p.m. for me because I happen to be in Pacific time, that's when there's going to be a live Q&A with me. The next one after that is Tuesday, February 22nd. The next event after that is going to be that VP webinar that I was mentioning, the webinar where it's Training Dragon with Ray Saunders. Ray is one of our technical support representatives, and he's just fabulous, and he just knows so much about this topic. I can't wait to watch what he has to say to everyone. So basically, you can take a look at all of the upcoming events that way. And it also comes with a little, calendar schedule here. And if you just click on any item where there's a dot, it will go ahead and tell you what's happening on that particular day. Let's see what else. You'll notice here there's an option that says professions. One of the things that you're asked to do once you become a member is to fill out some information, a profile about yourself. And one of the things you can do is tell it what profession you belong to. The point of that is by having, by identifying yourself with a particular profession, it allows you to find out who else on the site is just like you. Like, how do I find a fellow official? Because my fellow officials might know more about something than, let's say a freelancer. So I could go into the official category, see who are the other members who happen to be officials, and maybe, go ahead and ask a question which is specific to officials. So, you have a lot of different options here for how you connect with and talk to people. So it's sort of like having an online conference, like an online state association meeting or a national association meeting or a STAR meeting, but it's going on 24/7. Because nobody has to actually physically be there at any one time. You're just leaving messages for the whole universe of fellow Ascend users who can be there to help you out and help you learn stuff that you want to know. When you first go to the home site, the first thing it does too is show you what's featured, what's, the exciting new things that have come up. And it will show you a whole bunch of, whatever the latest article has been, or what is the next big meeting coming up. So, or what video have I just posted? And you can always click the discovery section, and it will also give you all sorts of things like, here's the stuff from when I first welcomed you in, here are the upcoming events, here are the topics you can go through. And then it also tells you something called premium events. Premium events are something that we do. We try to do them monthly, but can't necessarily do them absolutely every month. But basically what those are is there's one additional cost for that. Everything else that I've mentioned so far is all included with Ascend. The one thing that we don't do at Ascend on a regular basis is continuing education credit. And there's a reason for that. The number one reason why we don't try to do continuing education credit is because of the time and the cost that's involved of arranging continuing education credit. If I tried to do credit for absolutely every single webinar I ever taught, number one, you'd have to be there. I would have to be able to prove that you were there. And then I would have to send in a crap load of paperwork to the associated body so that you could get credit for that. Plus, I did a survey before I ever started building Ascend or opening it up. What I did is I asked people, how many of you really care about getting credit for your CAP training? And what I found was that there was less than 15% of the people who were really super concerned about getting those CEUs. Now, the reality is we still like them and we still want to get them. And if we can get them for CAP training, great, but it's not critical for the day-to-day stuff. So for the day-to-day stuff, the regular stuff that I do for Ascend, I'm not bothering with CEUs. However, these premium events that I'm talking about, What we'll do is once a month or so, maybe once every other month, it'll just depend. But basically what we'll do is something called a premium event. I'll charge you an extra 20 bucks. That's it. I'm not going higher than that. It's just 20 bucks. And what it will be is at least a 90-minute session. And I'll cover one topic. You do have to be there for that one if you want to earn the CEUs. But basically you show up for that event. I always do them on a Saturday because that tends to be a much more convenient time for most people to attend live. If I get enough Orthodox Jews who absolutely cannot be there on a Saturday, I will consider doing one on a Sunday as well. But we'll do one or two of those during the course of the year. I don't have an objection to doing that. I just won't do both that same month because I have a life too, and I plan to enjoy it. But anyway, during these premium events, what we'll do is we'll do a topic which focuses on something which will be really helpful. Like one of the ones I did in the past was top 10 tips for edit efficiency. Another one I did very recently in January, what we had just covered was tuning up your dictionary. And so the event which covered tuning up your dictionary was just basically 90 minutes of what should you get rid of, what should you keep, how do you fix things that are incorrect, and how do you fix them all at once as opposed to one at a time, especially if you have a huge dictionary. And that was a tremendously fun event for me to go ahead and teach. And 49 people attended and got credit for that one. So it's something where I can go ahead and arrange the CEUs for the live event. And so we like to do that, like I said, about once a month, once every other month, somewhere in there. We'll probably have 9 or 10 of those events at least this year. Okay, so you're starting to see all the different things that Ascend could bring to you. If I go to my home right here, you can see that I've got a lot of messages from people where they've asked me questions. So for example, one of the questions I got, how do I move my spell check button back to the main toolbar? Somebody moved their toolbar button. That's not something you would call tech support over. You wouldn't call tech support because tech support is there for emergencies and for your fellow reporters. Just imagine if you were somebody who was waiting in line to talk to an available rep and nobody was available because they were busy telling someone else how to move their spell check button. That would be pretty annoying, wouldn't it? So there needs to be this middle ground of training, of this resource where there is someone that I can contact for the non-emergency things that is available and able to respond relatively quickly, not instantly like support needs to be for those emergencies, but someone who can respond in a relatively fast fashion, who knows what they're talking about. And if they don't, and again, it's usually me, it can be some other folks at Stenograph too, but if we don't have an answer, we'll find out and we'll get back to you with an answer. And you can always count on someone being there and getting that answer to you. You can rely on it. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about cost. So let me go back to my little slideshow here and let me just talk about this for a minute. So how do you actually join Ascend? Well, the first thing that you do is you go to the Stenograph website and you either go to the training page and then click Ascend, or what you'll be able to do is maybe Jenny will go ahead and just put this link into the chat so that you guys can go ahead and click that link and you can just join from here if you want to. But basically, once you go to that link, it'll take you to a little questionnaire. Bear with me 1 second here. I'm just going to pop it up on the screen. So if you go, this is the stenograph.com/ascend. So if you go there, this is what you see, and you'll see a Join Now button. When you click that Join Now button, what it's going to do is it's going to bring up a little questionnaire. And what you'll do, and I'm not actually going to fill out the questionnaire right now, I'll just kind of walk through it real quickly so that you get an idea of what you'll see. And it'll remind you that although you are going to input a credit card, you're going to get a try it free button. You are not going to have to be charged for anything right away. Anybody who subscribes to Ascend gets a free month first. So it's 30 days. So it's not necessarily a full month. It just depends on which month you're in. So this month is definitely entirely free, but you get a full 30 days. So if you go through this questionnaire, so you go to you go to stenograph.com/ascend, you get to this little questionnaire after you click Join Now. You click Continue or press Enter, and it'll ask you, okay, what's your name? First name, last name, and what's your customer if you happen to know it. if you know your customer number, that's very helpful to me personally, because I have to enter all this stuff into a system. So it helps me to have that info. If you don't have it, don't worry about it. And then it'll ask you, are you a member of STAR? Because again, as I mentioned, if you're a member of STAR, you're entitled to a 50% discount. If you say yes, it'll take you immediately to the STAR sign up. If it's no, then it will take you to the next question. So if it's no, then it takes you to this question, which is, which of the following descriptions fits you best? Professional, student, or scopist / proofreader, or office manager, or instructor? Because we have different rates for those three categories. And the reason we have different rates is because basically there's more material for professionals than there is for anyone else, because again, you're 90% of my customer base is mostly professionals. So that's why you get the most benefit from it. But there are materials that students will find extremely helpful, and that scopists and proofreaders and instructors will find helpful as well. So once you go ahead and pick whoever it is that you fit, whatever category you fit, and then you submit that information, and I'm not going to bother going through the whole thing here because, well, okay, I'll just pretend to fill it in here just so that we can get to that. And I'm a professional, submit. Come on, there we go. Okay. So what it's going to do then is it says, hey, I appreciate all my professional reporters, captioners, and card providers who want to learn more. So click here, and your 1 month free trial, you can go ahead and begin. So then it takes you to a screen, which basically gives you the opportunity to pick which way you want to go. Do you want to go monthly or yearly? So for a professional membership, as you see, it's either $19.99 a month, so 20 bucks a month, or $200 a year, which winds up being a little less expensive. And if you figure it out math wise, basically, if you do it 20 bucks a month, then you're going to wind up spending about $240 a year. Whereas if you do it for $199.99, if you do it annually, then of course you get it $200 for an entire year. So it's kind of like getting 2 months free. Okay, and what you get is membership. And then it tells you what the benefits are and tells you what the differences are. And when you click that try free, then what it does is it takes you to a place where you can create an account. It'll ask for your name and your email address and your credit card information. Whether or not you pay tax depends on what state you live in, but that gets figured out automatically and automatically added on, and it will not charge you anything. As I said, it starts at 0.00. You get charged nothing until you actually stay beyond 30 days. If you choose not to stay beyond 30 days, that's it. You don't get charged anything. You just got to access the site for free for a month. Now, what are the prices? Again, for my regular non-STAR members, annual and monthly is, I'm going to just round up because this whole 99 thing just makes me nuts, but whatever. So 20 bucks a month, $200 a year for a professional. For an associate, which is considered a scopist, proofreader, a professional, but not a professional reporter, someone who's working at the level of an instructor or a scopist or proofreader, it's basically $14 a month or $140 a year. And for a student, it's only $10 a month or $100 a year. However, if you belong to STAR, if you're a STAR member, and for those of you who aren't familiar with STAR, staronline.org. Staronline.org is the website, and you can talk to them about joining. Once you become a member, then you get a 50% off price on your Ascend membership. There's a ton of different benefits to belonging to STAR. I'll let you explore that on your own and find out whether that's a good value for you. I think it's an excellent value, but again, that's not my place to go ahead and push STAR, but I think it's great. The other thing, which is a value that I didn't mention here, is that you will also get loyalty points. For those of you who have started to play with version 21.5 in Apex, if you've created your Apex account, you notice that there is a loyalty program available. Well, you will get credit for getting an annual membership or having been a member for a certain amount of time. So you will get some loyalty credit along with the other benefits which come with Ascend. And I would just invite you to compare the cost of Ascend to other kinds of training experiences. For those of you who have taken training, you're probably aware that the average price for about an hour of training, about an hour of training is anywhere, just depending on what part of the country you're in, whether you're super rural or if you're in a very, very big, busy city, can go anywhere from, let's say, I think the cheapest I've seen is about $65 an hour, and the most expensive I've seen is about $110 an hour. And that's a lot of money for 1 hour of training, especially since 2 hours would pay for an entire year of Ascend. What are you using your training for? And that's how you should pick which method you should use. If you are using your training to learn, all of the basics, yeah, by all means, get yourself a personal trainer if you're not comfortable learning that stuff on your own. By all means, that's a great, it's a very good and a wise investment. However, if you know all the basics already, if you're just trying to, pick up piecemeal, I just need a tip. How can I do a macro? I just need to figure out how to do a macro for this one thing. That's what Ascend is really great for, because you pick up these things as you go, when you actually need them, when you have time to practice them. So you spend 5 minutes here, half an hour there, 10 minutes over here. And then over the course of months, you find that all of a sudden you're spending less and less and less and less time. I just want to share one little story with you. I'm going to stop sharing here and I'll just look at you again. I just want to share a story really quickly. One of my most experienced reporters, she's on the STAR Liaison Committee. She has been a reporter for many, 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 many years. And she is, extremely accomplished. This is somebody who knows her software and has been using her software. But the reality is, even if you use a ton of it, there's probably some part of it you're not using, and that either you forgot existed or it came out with an update and you just skipped over it because it wasn't important at the time. And then all of a sudden you find out about it. This user that I'm talking about, I had thrown out a tip on Ascend, which told her about this particular item, which happened to be that you could have, you could list all of your untranslates in one place in your hotspots pane, that you can just, check it off, check off a little box, basically open up your pane, and it would just list all of your untranslates so that you could go to them one at a time, or just be able to define them one at a time. And that way, when she's trying to clean up for a rough, she doesn't have to literally physically go through the entire transcript. She can just go ahead and, pop it in, and then it will just work. So, and she said, that saved me half an hour a job. Half an hour a job. I want you to think about that. Think of how many jobs you have a month, how many jobs you have per year, multiply times 30 minutes each, and how much time have you just saved? And how much money have you just saved? How much time could you now spend on other things, whether it's taking other jobs or whether it's not working, having a life? So that's the whole reason I'm doing Ascend. That's why I think that this is worth doing, that I have been, and trust me, I have put a lot of blood and sweat into this, trying to make this come about. And I'm really excited that we've got it. We currently have we have 49 webinars that I've taught so far. So you have a huge range to pick from. We have, we've done 55 live Q&A sessions. Got another one coming up next Tuesday. And so there's a ton of material for you to go through and to see and to enjoy. Plus I will continue to, create more material, and it's always on a weekly basis. You're constantly seeing something new. So that's pretty much the tour of Ascend. If there's anything in particular, if there are questions that I can answer, then I will be delighted to answer them.
Yes, we do have some questions.
Okay.
Cindi, can you first talk about accessing the content and trying to find it? Is it really hard to do? Can you easily access it? Can you show us?
It's incredibly easy to access the content. Again, it just depends on what it is that you're specifically trying to access. But yeah, it's just simply a matter of find what you're looking for. So again, what I would usually tell someone to do is click topics. So for example, let's say I want to know about macros, and I want to know about macros in real time. Okay, well, I can't remember what the heck they call those, but I know it's something in real time. So let me see if they have a topic on real time. There we go. Here's real time translation. And now let me search for, well, I would want to see a webinar about macros. So let me look, just see what webinars they've got on real time. Well, I've got one on power defines, one on, oh, what is this? Advanced accelerators, editing on the fly. Oh, that looks like it might be. Okay, edit, yes, yeah, this is what I want. Great. How do I access that? I click it. And then it starts playing the webinar. So that's all really I have to do. That's it.
Perfect. Thank you.
So it's really that simple in terms of a video. You just literally click where you see the play button. But here's one on Real Team. If you haven't started using Real Team yet, oh my gosh, please take a look at this webinar because you're going to love it. You want to know about Brief It? I had somebody who sent me an email saying that they were going to come to this class, and they said, here are a whole bunch of questions I'd like you to answer for my students, like how do I convert numbers to digits, which is why I mentioned the number conversion webinar earlier. Another one was, what is the best way to utilize the Brief It feature? Well, here's everything you might want to know about Brief It. Pretty much anything you might want to look for. It's here. And if it's not here yet, it will be, because you'll ask for it and I'll put it up. I'll start teaching it.
Thanks, Cindy. When you do webinars for CEUs, so the premium content, will the Ascend members be responsible for submitting them to NCRA themselves for credit?
Yes, they are. What I do to make it as convenient as possible is when you are finished with the actual webinar, and you have to take like a little brief test because they require me to do that to not only have a record that you attended, but to prove that you actually stayed there the whole time and didn't just leave the room while it was playing. So, so they do make me do a bit of due diligence. But then what happens is I send you a document via email, and it contains both the application with all of the information and my signature, plus the certificate, which says what the class was, how long it took, and how many CEUs that you're eligible for. And then you simply go to their website, you click it, and you submit it. You do have to pay their fee, though. I can't prepay the fee.
Speaking of the premium content webinar, somebody is asking if they want to pay to join the premium content webinar, and they don't want the CEU credit for it. Are they still able to access the premium content and go back and get that and watch the recording?
They will be able to do that. 3 months after the premium event, I move it over to, or that's the plan going forward. In the past, I hadn't done that because I wasn't sure quite how I was going to organize all of that. But the plan going forward is after a premium event, I wait 3 months, and then the first Monday after the, 3 months after the event, I will post it in the regular section, and anybody who wants to take that class can go ahead and just take it. It'll just be part of their regular membership. So actually by the end of this month, by the end of February, all of the past premium events, except for the one that I just did with Tune Up Your Dictionary, will be available. And starting in May, that's when Tune Up Your Dictionary will be available. There will be nothing in June. In July, that's when you'll get the one that I'm actually doing at the end of March. So, so there will be a plan for that. So yes, if you don't care about the CEUs, yes, you can still get access to the content. But to honor the folks who are paying the $20, I'm going to let them have first crack and let them review it as many times as they want first.
Okay. Can you talk about the advantage of Ascend versus Catalyst tutorials?
Well, again, Catalyst tutorials, which are, I wrote them all. So they're still good. They're wonderful for learning basics. And I don't usually cover a whole lot of basic content on Ascend. I will, and I'm more than happy to. And in fact, I have. I think I went through the very basics of how to do backup on Ascend for someone. But again, the thing about the tutorials which are built into Catalyst is that they are trying to get you up and running. They're trying to get you to that point where you can create a transcript on your own. So yeah, they'll take you through the basics of, gee, how do I make an include file? And they'll take you through making, let's say, a parenthetical or an appearances page, but they won't take you through all of the details of, let's say, now my title page has to look like this. So how do I fix this? I mean, I kind of got the thing on how to make a table, but I need this and I need that. That's what Ascend can be good for, because you can just ask a question, say, hey, I'm trying to do this and I'm not quite sure how. And I'll say, oh, just try this, 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 and this. And you'll say, oh, okay. And then boom, you've got it.
Speaking of the basics, someone said that you mentioned learning all the basics. It would be better to use a personal trainer. This
If
person
you're
is
not
trying.
good on DIY, if you're not comfortable with the DIY stuff by yourself, I mean, some people I know do great when they can just read something and just do it on their own. There are other folks where it's like, and you need to have your hand held, and you're much more comfortable if you have your hand held. If that's you, own it and get a trainer.
So this person said they're trying to learn the basics, but they're thinking Ascend would be better just in case they don't understand something or
Sure.
forget something.
Sure.
If they use a personal trainer and were to forget something, they'd have to pay again to ask the same question. Would Ascend help with someone like this person?
Yep, absolutely. Absolutely. Because again, if you're just kind of walking through the materials on your own and you have a question, you'd post your question and I would respond to it and say, yes, you do this, this, and this. And I would explain how you need to do that. And if it was something that was more detailed, something that I felt like, I don't know if you're going to get this unless I can actually walk you through it. If I can't create a really short video to show you real quickly, I might ask you, hey, why don't you come one Tuesday evening to one of the live Q&As so that I can demonstrate this to you, because I think that you'll benefit more from that than from me trying to write out a whole explanation. Or if I've already done the explanation, I'll point you specifically to the video that's on Ascend that already explains that. But yes, I think that would be a great value for you.
If you're a star member and join Ascend, how will it know that you're a star member so you get the discount?
It actually asks you, what is your star member number? So when you say, yes, I'm a star member, and then it'll say, okay, great, what's your star member number? And you give me your number. I have a list of all the star members because the star membership coordinator is very kind and shares that information with me. That's all the information I have, by the way. I don't have all of your personal information because you don't want me to have all that. But I do have who is a member and who is not. And if you've just recently joined, I have a way of checking on that through the coordinator. And as soon as I verified it, because I've got 30 days, because you're going to be on a free trial anyway, I've got 30 days to figure that out. And if you are a star member, at least by the end of that time, then no problem. You'll just, go ahead and you'll get that star rate. And if you're not, basically I'll deactivate you and say, hey, you're not really a star member. So I kind of have to make you move to a different plan. But yeah, I'll know that you're a star member and I'll check.
Someone said that they're trying to learn how to do their numbers and they think they need a tutoring session. Does Ascend offer personal tutors?
I don't offer personal tutoring except through the live Q&A. I think if it's just a question of, I just don't know how to do my numbers, like you're not sure if you want to continue writing the way you're writing. If it's a matter of theory, I think then you do want to get yourself someone who specializes in that, because I'm not, although I may occasionally from time to time suggest something that I've heard someone else use, I'm not a theory teacher and I'm not going to pretend to be. I, can suggest a decent brief stroke here and there, but I'm not going to tell you a method of doing things. What I will teach you to do is how the software works based on how you write. So if you're comfortable with the way you write and you just need to learn, well, how do I adapt the software to make it work? I think Ascend might be enough for you. If, however, you need a whole system, yeah, you might want to, look into someone who can help you in a little more detail.
Okay, the next question we have is, can we get CEU credit for our state certification renewal in Texas?
Okay, Texas is such a fun place when it comes to CEUs. The answer is no, I don't pre-approve anything for Texas for the premium events. So if you're only looking at it towards the premium events, then no, I'm not going to be able to guarantee that for you. I believe that Texas has some method where if it's on your, if you're an RPR and it's on your record, they have a way of you kind of, backdooring that in some way, but I don't know the specifics on how that gets done. And I wouldn't even attempt to tell you how to get started with talking to the board to be able to get that to happen. So what I will say is this. With regard to state points, for now, no, simply because number one, it's really expensive. It costs every time I want to try to pre-approve just a live session, and not even a webinar, if I was doing an in-person live session, state of Texas cost me at least $100 and I have to apply 60 days in advance. I can't do it on the fly. and you have to send in your application in a duplicate, and it has to be just so. And I got fined once for, oh, horror of horrors, using slashes in my dates instead of hyphens, or the reverse or something like that. It's just unbelievable what, the hoops they make you jump through. New Jersey is very similar. There's a lot of hoops to jump through there too. There's a lot of things you have to go through, and each state has their own little hoops. That's why I can't really do that and do it cost effectively, because I don't have a staff. It's not like I have, a bunch of little Cindys running around who are willing to do a lot of this legwork for me. It's just me for the most part. I have a few tech support reps I can call on from time to time. I bug poor Jenny to help me every once in a while to, help out with some of the online admin kind of work. But for the most part, it's just me. So no, unfortunately, I can't offer state credits right now. Hopefully in the future. And that is something that I'm working toward, is being able to have offline CEUs. Hopefully I'll eventually be able to offer online courses where you can have, like 6 or 7 hours worth of webinars which are related, take one test and get a whole bunch of credits, but that's still something I'm working on.
Okay, we're almost out of time. Okay. Real quick, we got a couple more here. On Ascend, do you talk at all about the Luminex 2?
Yes, actually I do. And I just killed the share screen when I shouldn't have. Okay, so let me click share screen. I had it on that whole time and I didn't need it, and now I need it. So let me click topics, and under topics, let me show you that we have a whole topic that's called Luminex. And under Luminex, in addition to the various questions that people ask, let me just show you just the webinars under Luminex, because what I did was I had the experts. So how to care for your Luminex writer. Here's how to deal with USB connections. Here's Bluetooth. Here's everything about dictionaries in your Luminex, how you deal with your SD cards. There's one about Wi-Fi. There's one about how to copy your files from the writer's SD card to another drive. So yeah, we have a lot of stuff just about the Luminex, and we have more coming.
Okay, great. And last one, and then we'll wrap it up here. On the month-to-month membership, if they find that they're not utilizing Ascend because of their busy schedule, can I cancel at any time?
Absolutely. Whenever you decide, you know what, I don't want to have this anymore. And actually, let me just share my screen one last time, and I'll just show you this really quickly because it's incredibly simple. What happens is, so let me just go to my home page. So up here where you see your picture or your, the generic stick figure or whatever, you just click here, and basically it takes you to a place where you go into your settings, you go into your account, and you can deactivate my account. So long as you do that before the next time you get charged, you don't get charged again, and you're just no longer a member. Now, if you've ever done that, if you've deactivated your account, you can always come back. There's nothing that stops you from coming back. You don't have to redo your entire account. You just have to update your billing information. That's all. And then you're all set to go. So if you were there before and your email is still in the list and whatever, you can go right back to where you were.
Sounds good. Thanks, Cindi.
My pleasure. I hope it was helpful. And before we actually shut down here, just give me 1 second here. Let me stop sharing. And I just wanted to make sure that I said that, aside from hoping that you found this webinar helpful, I hope you will consider joining Ascend and taking advantage of that 30-day free trial. Explore the webinars, experience a couple of the live Q&A sessions, go ahead and post questions and get some answers, participate in the polls. I didn't really mention the polls that much, but once a week I have the question of the week. And it's just so fascinating sometimes to see how your colleagues are answering these things. And I do one a week that is a professional question, and I do one a week which is a social kind of a question. We actually have a section called the Ascend Village Pub, where we just chat about, stuff that we're all have in common that we're doing these days, like Wordle or, whatever it is that is, the popular thing right now. So I just want to thank you again for taking the time to listen to me and consider this. And I hope the rest of your day is fantastic and that you enjoy the rest of your week and your weekend.
Thank you. Bye, everyone.